Hello, my name is Rick Hand. We're here today at Fretz RV in Souderton, Pennsylvania. We're going to do a walk around on the 2021.5 Pleasure Way Plateau TS. This is a mid-year model that they're referring to as a 21.5. It's actually a 21, of course, but it does have all the new changes that Pleasure Way made mid-year. So we're going to start on the outside and do a walk around here. This has the new power door that's part of the Mercedes chassis. By just lifting the handle like that, the door opens on its own. There's several ways to open it. There's a button on the key fob, there's a button on the dashboard, and then once it's open, there's a button right here in the door jamb that I can use to close it. Real nice feature, especially if you're on a hill. The door can get quite heavy. This eliminates any problems with that. On an RV like this, there's two ways to get water. So you could either hook up to a hose and that would provide the water, it provides the pressure, everything you need, or you can bring water with you. If you're going to bring water with you, this is where you fill it up. Pleasure Way gives you a little locking door here and a cap that you just undo. You could stick a hose in here. If you had a jug, you could pour water in here. And once you fill this up, then you can pressurize it inside, and we'll go over that later. But the door is a nice feature because obviously if somebody were to tamper with your water, you could tell right away. This particular one has the option of the Alcoa aluminum wheels. You can see them here. It's dual rear wheels. And there's a valve extender to check the pressure and to air up the tires for the inside and the outside, incorporated into the design. We have the big awning outside, which perhaps we'll open that up later and give you a demo on that. There's some plugs out here, which you can plug in any accessories, anything you want could be plugged in, as long as you have either shore power or you have your inverter on, which we'll cover that a little more in depth as we get inside. Your back doors on this are a real nice design. They open all the way back like that, and there's a pretty secure detent in the hinge that would hold that for wind, or if you're on a hill. This one does the same. And then looking in the back here, you can see you have a pretty good amount of storage for whatever odds and ends, maybe some lawn chairs, whatever. Your awning is up top. That just zips right down the side and velcros along the bottom, so it's all tightened up. And then there's a panel here that zips that you can access your cargo without unzipping the whole thing. There's a blind that comes down in the back for privacy. There's little steel plates on the door that there's magnets in the blind that once you have the doors closed, it secures them down. The seat belts here, these can be just pulled through. If you're using it as a bed, you wouldn't want the seat belts out. They just pull right through. But there are shoulder belts here, so you have a two 3-point seating positions back here if you have passengers. This is a 12-volt air compressor they give you. Unfortunately, there's no room for a spare. There's some options to get accessory spares that mount on the door or onto your hitch, but this could get you out of a pinch if you just had a nail in your tire. Some fix-a-flat in the compressor might get you going. You have the receiver back here. This is rated for 5,000 pounds, 500-pound tongue weight. It has the hookup for your electrical, as well as the receiver for a bike rack or to tow a small trailer, or anything you want, really. I think that about covers the back here. We'll close this up. And we'll move around to the side. This is a vent for your battery. You have the lithium batteries under the sofa, and this is a vent, part of the RV code. They have to be vented. This is exhaust for the generator. Here we have the vents for your refrigerator that there's nothing really for the owner to do. There's access for service or to diagnose an issue, but basically that stays closed. This is exhaust for your Truma Vario heat furnace. When you run the furnace, this is where the exhaust comes out. Truma AquaGo, this is the water heater. So this opens like that and suspends down here. Now this RV presently is winterized, so I'm not going to be able to demo the water heater. But in operation, you turn it on, a little LED light comes on, and then you control it from inside to turn it off and on and to run the various settings on it. Here is the drain. There's a plug / filter that goes in here that you pull out, and that drains it to winterize it. You put that back in and close this, and then flush it out to de-winterize. This has two settings on it, this Truma. It has an instant setting and the standard setting. If you're boondocking, you're relying on the water that you brought with you. You don't want to run a gallon of water waiting for it to get hot. So you can set it on the instant setting and have hot water right away. However, to accomplish that, you're using a little bit of propane to maintain that water at temperature all the time. So if you put it on the eco setting, they call it, then you have to wait a little bit for it to get hot, but you're not using propane. So if you're hooked up to water somewhere and you really don't care, that's the setting you'd want to use. Close that up. So this is what they term as your utility center here. This is the power cord. This is the cord that comes with it. The nice feature is this light comes on when you have power, so you could tell right away if you had a good connection. This is the cord, the 30 amp cord. Here's the on and off for propane. There's a solenoid that operates a remote switch for the propane tank. Here we have your city water connection. So I had talked about filling up the holding tank on the other side. This is where you directly connect to a hose if you have water at the campground. And then this is a setup for cable TV here. You may have a case where you'd be offered cable. You could run a coax to there. This is the outside shower. So this is another nice feature, a nice design from Pleasure Way where they put it here. You have hot and cold water. This pulls out 5 or 6 feet. This pink stuff is the antifreeze, so I don't want to get that on me. It's non-toxic, but if you get it on your hands, it's sticky. So we'll let that go. But this is a real nice feature, primarily that you have hot water out here and good water pressure. So the last thing I'll show you on this side is how to empty your holding tank. So if you've read up a little bit, most people would know that you have, in addition to your freshwater tank, you have 2 wastewater tanks. You have the gray, which is your sink and your shower water, and you have the black, which is your toilet. So when the time comes to empty them, there's a gauge inside that you can keep track of how their levels, how full they are. But you open up this. So these are the 2 handles here, and this is the dump. Behind this rocker panel is a PVC tube, which opens with this cap, and then out of the tube pulls your hose. And there's 2 pieces that you can connect together or just use one at a time. Stuff it back in there. That store in there. And you hook the hose to here, put it in the dump, and then you'd pull your black valve first, and then the gray. And they're just simple pull to open, push to close. You pull the black first, that dumps your toilet. You pull the gray, and that's going to dump your sink and your shower water, which is essentially just soapy water for the most part. And then the nice thing is you do have your hot water right here from your shower. If you want to wash your hands or rinse something off, you'd be good to go. So this is where you'd fill the fuel, and it's kind of a nice design from Mercedes. that you have to open the door to release this to access your diesel fuel fill. But this, when the door is locked, it locks your fuel as well. Walking around the front here, there's not a whole lot to show you. This has the new LED Mercedes lights. This little step here is a built-in feature that you could jump up and clean the windshield if you wanted. Let me open the hood. And I'll show you just a few things under here. The latch stores up in this little clip. There's not a whole lot for you to do under here. They give you a nice big washer fluid tank that's clear, so you can tell at a glance where you are for washer fluid. The battery for the engine on the Mercedes Sprinter chassis is down underneath the floor. So to access that, they give you this connection here for your positive, and then over here is a lug for the ground for your black connection. So if you want to jump start somebody or you need to jump start yourself, that's where you hook up. This is the oil fill. On the new Sprinter chassis, there's no dipstick for your oil. The oil is shown as a gauge every time you start the engine. It shows you your oil level right on the dashboard. This is the air intake. All the air that comes into the dash comes in through here and down in through there. The other thing that I'll just touch on briefly is this cap here, DEF. DEF is diesel exhaust fluid. All modern diesel engines use this to help keep the emissions level very low. You don't get the black soot that you used to get on diesels. You don't get near the smelly diesel exhaust that people remember. This is a fluid that's sprayed into the exhaust stream and then through a catalyst, and it burns off the soot and keeps everything burning clean. There's a gauge on the dashboard for the DEF, and customers tell me it's 3, 4, some even say 5, 6, 7,000 miles till you have to add DEF. You can buy it anywhere that sells automotive products. And it's easy to get, it's easy to fill, and it's not something that you have to fuss with all the time. I guess it depends on your driving habits, how long it lasts, but it lasts a long time regardless. So that's that. Want to stop a minute? Okay, before we go inside, there's two things I overlooked here on the back I want to show you quick. Down here, this is where the propane tank is filled. It's a permanently mounted tank underneath that I showed you the switch on the other side to turn it off and on, but you go to a propane station and this is where they access to fill it up. This is just a valve to let the air escape as they fill it. And then this is a quick release for a gas grill. If you have a grill, you can hook that up here. There's a little on and off ball valve here, and you get a quick connect hookup, and that taps directly off your tank. So that's the one thing. And the other that I neglected to talk about is underneath the seat in the back. Got it? So this is your lithium battery here. There's not much for you to do with the battery itself, but lithium batteries are great. They have a much larger capacity for storage. They'll give you 100% output right down to 80% or better discharge. They're not going to slowly get dimmer and dimmer. They give you everything they got right down to the end. They can be charged and recharged thousands of times without wearing out, but they don't like to be charged when it's below freezing. So to help that, back here, it's a little hard to see because it's dark under here, but back under here is this red key, and I don't know if we can see that, but there's charge line disconnect. So this key simply goes into the hole here and turns on. And once it's on, it's got tension on it. Now we can charge our batteries. So the process would be to disconnect the key when you're storing it in cold weather. That's going to prevent the batteries from charging. On this new version that we're doing today, this 21.5, one of the features they've added is a temperature for your batteries on the display panel. So I'll show you that. So you can monitor and see when your batteries are warm enough to accept a charge. If you were going to use this in the winter, you could just come in, turn on the furnace, run the engine heater, get the interior warmed up to some extent, look at your battery temperature. When it gets above freezing, you can hook this up and then it'll charge by your solar panels or by your shore power or by driving it down the road. So that's something important that I wanted to touch on here. So now we'll go inside and show you some of the other features. Good? Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we're going to go inside and show you the features on this Pleasure Way Plateau TS. Everything on the RV, or at least most of the functions, are controlled through two touch screens, one in the back, one in the front. So I'm going to start there showing you how to work the touch screens, but before I do, I'm going to turn this front seat around so that we can get a better view with the camera and try to show you this. These Mercedes seats are real nice. They have a dual lumbar support. They have this little extension that pops out. If you have long legs, you want a little more support. And then all the controls are here. So this is, if you picture this as a seat, that reclines the seat, that straightens it up. This lowers the seat, raises the seat. You can tilt the front, you can tilt the back. There's 3 memory settings here, as well as a heated seats. So they're real nice. To turn them around, you want to move them forward. If not, they can hit this, your panel here, or it can hit the door. So once you have it forward some, there's a lever in the front that you pull, and the seat spins right around. And it'll go wherever you like, but it'll lock when you're all the way forward or all the way back. And then once you have it spun around, you can bring it back to wherever you want. They recline damn near all the way like a dentist chair. They'll go back almost flat. If you want to lounge back to read or take a nap or whatever you want to do, it goes back even further than that. They'll go just about all the way. But for now, that's a quick lesson on the seats. These armrests ratchet up to whatever height you want. So that's the seat. Now we'll go to the panel. Okay, you want to switch positions here? Okay, here we are. We're going to go inside and show you the basic functions on your Pleasure Way touchscreen. So to start with, this red button here is your battery on and off. So we're going to turn it on, and that's going to boot up the screen. This disconnects the battery from discharging. The key in the back that I showed you disconnects the battery from charging. If you have the key disconnected in the back and your batteries are charged, you can still discharge the batteries and use the RV for a good amount of time until the batteries would become depleted. So we're going to walk through this screen here. So you have the home screen, which is what we're on now. We have the lighting page. This is your power. This is the mechanical. And here is your settings and diagnostic. So here we're on the home screen. So I like to say there's kind of 4 quadrants here. This top one is your climate control. So here you can see the temperature inside is 47. The thermostat's set to 70, but the mode is off. So that would be your air conditioning. This would be your heat. So I'm going to put the heat on, and I can adjust the temperature by just scrolling this. And you see the flame lit up. So the heat is going to turn on. It takes a minute to click and then fire up. But we'll leave the heat on for a few minutes. And then over here, this is your fan. So you have automatic, which is where you'd leave it when you're running the heat. Or you have high and low for the air conditioning. Down here is your basic lighting. Just for entering the coach, you can either put on the entry light here, you can put your awning lights on, or there's what they call the porch light, which is a big bright LED light outside. So we'll show you that in a little bit. But that's your basic lighting. And this here says backlight. What that is is the whole screen itself. So that just turns it off. And then you touch it anywhere and it comes back on. So you have your basic lighting, you have your climate control here, and then up here is your DC power. DC is your 12-volt batteries. So here we can see we're at 100%. We're at 13.7 volts, which your voltage is going to run between 13 and 14 typically, so we're full at 13.7. And this is what I mentioned in the back. This is the temperature of your batteries. So we have the batteries disconnected now, so they're not charging because we're below freezing. This is a real-time amp meter. So this shows your power consumption, either charging or discharging. Right now, we're plugged in. I have you plugged into what we term shore power. Your power cord's plugged in. So we're zero. We're not using any power more than what's coming in. Down here is your AC source. So this is your battery. This is your AC source. And this shows that we're on shore power, that we're plugged in. If I unplug this, this would turn off and say NA, or I can turn on the inverter, which we'll do in a little bit, and that would show you that you're powered off the inverter. Over here is the generator. So this says it's stopped, it's not running, and to start the generator you simply push this button and hold it. Now we're in the garage here inside. I'm not going to run the generator, but it's simply a matter of pushing the button to start it. It'll start, you push the button to stop it. Okay, so we're talking about the generator. We're indoors here, so I don't want to run it for long, but maybe just to show you, we'll push the button, and there it fired up. It sounds a little louder than normal because it's reverberating off the walls, but that's the generator. It shows you here that it's running, and now our AC source has switched over to generator. And here you can see also that we're charging. The longer we let this run, this charge would go up even higher, although we're already at 100%. So I'll stop this here so we don't gas ourselves. And here you can see it went back to shore power. So down here at the bottom, to cover the final part here, this is a water pump. So we had talked about the options with water, either hooking up to a hose or bringing water with you. So if you're bringing water with you, you're working off your holding tank, this would be how you'd engage the water pump. And again, we're winterized here, I'm not going to run it, but when these are blue, that means they're on. So when you hit this water pump switch, it would turn blue, and you'd hear the pump run for a few seconds, and then it would shut off. As you would open a faucet, the pressure would drop, and the pump would come back on. This switch here is for your heater. Now this says heater error, and up here you can see a little blinking error light. That means you can't run the heater because it's winterized. We have the plug pulled out, we have the heater winterized, and it's not operational now. But ordinarily you would push that button and the display would change, and you could set the temperature for the hot water, and you could choose between the different modes that I spoke about earlier. Over here is your monitoring for your tanks. Here you can see fresh, gray, and black water. They're all empty, and propane is full. This unit is prepped for the customer, so we fill the propane, we fill the diesel fuel, it's all ready to go. So that is the home screen. Covers just about everything that you would need. Here we can go to the lighting. Now this brings up all the lights. On the home screen you just have your basic entry lights and whatnot, but here I have living room, I have the sofa valance, I have reading lights that are in the back off the sofa, and I have the counter lights up over the kitchen, and then here's additional lights in the center. All these lights can be dimmed and brightened like that. I don't know if you can hear on the video, but the heat just kicked on, so we're making heat now. You have a master switch here. This is going to turn off all the interior lights or turn all the interior lights on. It leaves your outside lights on. They have to be worked manually. And then you can bring them all back on like that. So that's the lighting page. That's pretty straightforward. I'm going to go back and turn the heat off here now that we showed you that it's working. So to do that, I just go to off, and you probably heard it stop there. The fan will run for a little bit just to cool the burner. We'll go back to our lighting page, and I think we pretty much covered that. This next one is the power. So this can be a little intimidating, but it really isn't if you take your time and look through it. So there's some redundancy here. This is the DC power that's also displayed on the home screen. It showed the 100%. We're up to 13.8. We've charged a little bit since I have it plugged in. Our batteries are at 31 degrees, so we're not charging them. It says it's fully charged. Here's our real-time amp meter again, which is at 0. Over here is your AC power. So this shows these green lights, energy management, that we have power and the ability to run our microwave and the cooktop. So when they're green, you're good to go. You can run your induction cooktop or operate your convection microwave. Here's your voltage, your amps, frequent. I'm not an electrical engineer. I don't understand the technical aspects of all this, but I know how to operate it. Some people get in real deep, others don't, but it is pretty intuitive for the average. Hooked up to shore power. I'm going to turn the inverter on shortly, and you'll see this will operate the inverter. And when I had the generator running, this would show the generator, the 3 different sources that you have for AC power. Down here is another way to start your generator and stop it like I did before. Here's the hours on the generator, which you want to monitor for routine service. There's oil changes and spark plugs and air filters. It's a little engine under there, so you can monitor the hours. This right now only has 0.5. And then this is a feature, AGS, which is popular with Pleasure Way owners. AGS is Auto Gen Start. What that is the ability to use your generator automatically in conjunction with your batteries and your climate control. So here we set it up, and they give you 2 choices, and obviously people are going to go for the easy setup. So you just read and follow the directions. When starting the generator, when would you like it to start? When the batteries are low and need charge? When the climate control needs power. So if you have pets, you want to go in for lunch, if it got hot, the gen would start and run your air conditioner. And you can choose yes or no on either of those. We'll choose yes for both and go to the next screen. Starting for low battery. Start the generator when the percentage is lower than, and on each of these screens they give you the minimum, maximum, and what they recommend. So we're going to go with recommended. Is when your batteries get down to 40%, they want to run the generator to top them up. And then you go to the next screen, stop the generator when they're 100%, when they're fully charged. So that's kind of obvious, I guess. And then the next screen is for your AC. So how long should the generator continue to run once the temperature set point is met? So if you have it set for 75 and the AC comes on and it's running and it gets to 75, you don't want it to stop instantly. It would cycle on and off too much. So they say run it for another 10 minutes after the temperature's set. So that seems logical. And then after each start, the generator should run no longer than, they recommend 120 or 2 hours. That would be if you're in a situation where the generator has to run constantly to maintain that 75-degree temperature or whatever temperature you choose, that it wouldn't run for more than 2 hours at a time. And it has a maximum of 240 minutes, 4 hours, but you can adjust all these just by hitting the little plus or minus and take it back down to the 120. And then the next screen is the finale. Here is the quiet time. So if you don't want the generator to kick on automatically between certain times, you can choose 9 p.m., 8:45, whatever you like, and then, you know, come back on at 7 in the morning. If you're at a campground, perhaps you're watching TV, running all your lights, and your batteries would get to 40%. You wouldn't want it to kick on without you knowing it in the middle of the night. So you can set that up. Once you do all that, you hit finish and you're done. Then to enable it, you go to this button, and it says here, not for use with shore power. There'd be no reason to set this up if you were plugged in. And of course, they're warning you not to set it up when you're inside because the generator is an engine that's going to emit fumes. So when you read all that and you're sure it's safe to run it, then you hold this in for 5 seconds, and that enables the AGS. They do that just so that it doesn't inadvertently get set. You have to physically interact with it to engage it. So that's AGS, pretty simple. Over here's your solar charger. So this, you can turn it off or on. Oh, well, I have the key disconnected, so that's obvious. With the key out, that automatically turns off the solar panels, so we're not charging our cold batteries. When the panel's engaged, this shows the volts, the charge volts, and the amps are all displayed here. Again, if you're kind of in a technical frame of mind, you can monitor all that and keep track of it. So that's your power, and then we're going to go over here to the mechanical. So here is where you would extend and retract the sofa to turn it into a bed, which when we get to the back we'll do that. And this is where you'd extend or retract your awning. Here it says awning disabled. This is a little red light that'll come on if you have the engine running or if you have the ignition on. They won't allow you to put the awning out while it's running. Obvious reasons, you wouldn't want to inadvertently put it out while you're driving down the road. So we could extend the awning here. Well, let's finish this up and then we'll do that as a finale. We'll put the awning out. Over here is the fan. The fan is your overhead roof vent, and this is the lid, which is closed now. I can open the lid separate, or if I turn on the fan, it's going to automatically open the lid. You can hear that come on now, and I'm at 100%. Now I can, once I get the lid open and it's running, I can go 80, 60, 40. This fan is amazingly powerful. If you close this van up and run the fan, you can hear the motor start to strain as it's trying to suck a vacuum into the van. So you open up any one of the windows and the air is just going to rush in. For a muggy night, a lot of people could use the fan in place of having to run their air conditioner. So if I turn the fan off, then I can close the lid. If I close the lid, it'll automatically turn the fan off. So that's a real nice, valuable feature. There's also a rain sensor built into the fan that if it would start to rain, it would automatically close itself once it got wet. So that's that. Down here is your settings. So here we can go from Fahrenheit to Celsius. I can dim or brighten the screen however I like. Screen settings. There's a power saver that it would automatically turn off after any set amount of time you want to pick here. The default's 15 minutes. Color, you can go negative or positive with it. There's the light. We thought the dark might show up a little better on the video. There's all kinds of settings here. You can return to the default after a certain amount of times. You can set which page you want to be the default. You can kind of go down the rabbit hole with all this, but it's all pretty self-explanatory. You can customize the lighting buttons, 1 button, 2 button, 3 button. There's a lot of different things you can do here, but that's your screen settings. Here it tells you what, if you forget what kind of motorhome you have, it'll tell you there. Here's where you can set your clock. And then diagnostic. This is kind of a nice screen here if you're into the technical end. It shows all your circuits, all the various water heater, your lighting, everything's here. This is especially used for a technician if you'd have some kind of a fault. Here's all your house panel, all your 12-volt lighting, the thermostat, everything's here. over here is your battery health. So this is one that I kind of like. This is another new feature of this improved version of the Pleasure Way, that it shows discharge cycle. So this has been charged and discharged one time. So through the life of the RV, you could monitor that. Here's, it's a 200 amp hour battery, maximum discharge, average discharge. Your battery health, 100%. Remaining capacity is full. We're 100%, you have 200 amp hours. Your current, everything's over here. Here's your battery temperature, one more place. So that's that. Faults, if there were any faults, this would show up here, and this shows your solar controller is offline because, again, I have the key disconnected for the charge. So here I'm going to go back to the home screen, and perhaps we'll take a break. I'm going to unplug this and we'll show you how the inverter works, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, so now I've unplugged us from shore power, and you can see our AC source went to NA. There is no AC source. We have our DC power, our batteries, which will operate the lights, it would operate the awning. We can run most of the features, the water pump, the furnace, can all work just off the batteries. However, if I wanted to watch TV, I wanted to plug in a small appliance, I'd need AC power. If I want to run the air conditioner, I need either shore power or the generator. But to run the other features, we can use the inverter. So I'm going to show you here, up in the cabinet. This is a 2,000 watt inverter. An inverter takes your 12 volt DC power and converts it to AC power. In a second, we'll hear a beep there and a click. Now, if you notice, our induction cooktop lit up, and over here, the convection microwave lit up. So with the inverter on, and if we wanted to look one more time, if we back up at our touch screen, here it switched to inverter. And here we're using some power now because we're on the inverter. We're not charging at all. So I have the lights all on, I have the inverter on, and we are using a little bit of power. But one of the other things I wanted to show you here, on the power screen, once we're on inverter now, it says we're still at 100%, estimated time remaining. So this shows you that if we just sat here just like we are, we'd have 26 hours, I guess, a day and 2 hours of power. So as you're running off your inverter, you can show how much power you're consuming, and it'll estimate how much time you have left before you'd have to do something, either run the generator to charge it, or plug in, or take a drive, whatever you needed to do. So that's a nice feature there that we're able to show you. Okay, so before we continue here, I said I wanted to show you the awning. So here we go to the mechanical screen here, and we have the sofa and the awning. So the awning extend is just to hit this switch. Now there's a sticker here that says your doors are supposed to be closed before you operate the awning. The rear door, if you remember, I showed you it swings all the way back against the side of the van. The awning would hit that. This side door, they're worried about you hitting the top of the door, which if you're on level ground, it doesn't, but they warn you just to be careful. But I'm going to open it with the door open and extend the awning. So you can stop this wherever you want. When you take your finger off, it stops. So the further out it is, the less stable it is. So if it's a little breezy, maybe you don't put it out all the way. There is a sensor on it that if it starts shaking too much, it'll automatically bring itself in. But you'd still have to be careful. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it quite all the way out. We're in the building here. But this will go out another foot or so. These arms here would get straight when it's all the way out. And then here I can show you the lighting on the back, the LEDs. And one of the cool things I like is that I can dim these lights. So if you're sitting out there at night, you can just adjust the light however you like. And you still have this porch light, they call it, if you really want to see what's going on. So that's your awning. Real nice feature. We'll bring that back in. You can leave the awning lights on with the awning retracted, and it does still show some light up above the door. So there you go. The other thing while I'm standing here I thought I'd mention is this screen. So this is your side screen door. It just clasps along the top here and zips down both sides. So it's a nice durable screen that, you want to put it down? Go ahead, let's give them the whole show here. So this comes down like that, all the way down. It has a little foam roll built in the bottom. It zips down the sides, okay, like that. And then the nice thing is, once it's zipped down, it has this magnetic catch here that you can get in and out without having to zip it. And there's even a little Velcro tab here that you can attach to the inside, that if maybe you had a little dog, it would make it harder for them to push their nose through there. But this is real durable, real nice. Some competitors use these pleated screens that slide across that are real pretty. They look elegant. They're very nice, but they're fragile. And we have problems with them jamming up sometimes. People pull on them. A pet would knock it off the track in just a second. So this is a real practical, easy to use way to get some fresh air in here. And then this just rolls up. And the one on the back is very, very similar. So awkward angle here, but I got it. There. So that's it. So now we'll move into the interior and show you some of the stuff we got going on. These are just sensors for the thermostats, if you're curious what they are. Pleasure Way gives you this really nice undermount sink, all stainless steel, solid real Corian countertop. This is a residential style sprayer. This is the plug for your Truma water heater that I talked about earlier. That's removed when you winterize it. We put it in the tank just for, or in the sink rather, just for storage. But that's a real nice feature. Induction cooktop is standard on all the new Pleasure Ways. This is operated electrically off your batteries. I think for safety it's a smart thing. You don't have any open flames here in this small space. You don't have any issues with propane. The only thing you're still using propane for on this is your furnace, your water heater, and your generator, but not to cook. So you should read up on that if you're interested. There's a lot of good information online regarding induction cooktops. Another feature of these new 21.5 models is they've gone to all radius doors. Real nice, solid laminate doors, solid plywood boxes, all screwed and glued together. There's no staples, there's no particle board. All this surface is real Formica laminate. It's not a wrap, it's not a contact paper like some of our competitors have. Back here you have, this is ultra leather furniture. It's soft, it's comfortable, it's easy to clean. You can either get gray or this almond color they call it. I'll show you a few things. This is everything that comes with it. as far as books and accessories. Back here, there's a couple other things that come with all Pleasure Ways. These are your privacy blinds for the front. You have 3 pieces in here. I'll just get one out to show you. They're shaped like your door window. There's magnets sewed into here. And one sticks on the driver's door, one sticks on the passenger's door, and then there's a larger one that goes across the windshield. And they're thick, and they provide some good insulation as well as privacy. So they come with it. And then in this box here, I'm not going to get this out, but this is your Pleasure Way airbed. They give you as a standard feature an inflatable bed with its own built-in air compressor that goes across the 2 front seats and would make a bed for a small person or a grandchild to travel with you. So that's a real nice feature. Big storage all the way around. Up here is, this is the Blu-ray disc player that comes standard with it. There's connections for your TV. It has a Bose sound bar that we'll talk about in a minute, and your Blu-ray. There's resets for your induction cooktop and for your microwave in here. And then this is your Winegard powered antenna. We turn that on by pushing the button. It scans around for a second, and there it's on. Now, we're not going to get any signal in here because we're in the garage, but ordinarily you can get a good signal. We get 25 or 30 stations if we're outside. You get a remote for your LG TV. This is a smart TV, so if you have internet access, you can stream Netflix or YouTube or Hulu, whatever you have, Amazon Prime. And then you have a Bose soundbar here, and that sounds really, really good. Hooked up to the TV to watch movies or even normal TV. And also has Bluetooth capability. You could pair your phone and play your own music or podcast through there. Sounds really good. And then there's a third remote for your LG Blu-ray disc player up here too. So that's all contained in there. This antenna uses some power, so if you're working off the inverter or not hooked up to any power source, you better turn it off when you're not using it. The TV has a strap here that releases it to swing around however you like, and then the soundbar is permanently mounted up against the wall. So let's back up a little bit. I'll show you a few more things and then we'll revisit this back area. This is the high point convection microwave. Not much to talk about here. It comes with its own instruction book. This is the refrigerator freezer. Standard in the Plateau TS is a much bigger freezer and refrigerator. This is a 3-way gas absorption refrigerator, it's called. We turn it on by pushing this button, and it's got, we're on inverter now, aren't we? Mm-hmm. Yes, okay. So we're on inverter. So this would work on electric if you're plugged in. It's 110. It'll work on propane, or it'll work on your batteries. So I put it on automatic. It's going to look for the power sources in the order of electric if you're plugged in. The second choice would be propane, and the third choice would be battery. So since we're not plugged in, it went to propane. So now it's running on propane. I can force it onto electric, but it's not going to work because we're not plugged in. Or I can put it on battery. So if you want to drive with your propane turned off and still run your refrigerator, you can run it off your battery, your lithium battery. That's the least efficient way. You're going to consume power faster running it off your battery, but it's charging while you're driving, so you're good to go. If you park for any length of time, you'd be better to switch it on to propane if you don't have access to electric power. So in the closet here,
God.
Okay. In the closet here, there's storage for your Lagoon table and for your bed boards. So I'm going to get the table out to show you how this works. This comes out like this. So Lagoon table is another feature that's real popular. They came out with this a year or two ago. There's a bracket here, and it all stores together by itself. So this comes off of the post, and this slides off here. So slide this on here, and you can tighten it up with these handles. Okay, so you can put this leg on, and then the nice thing with this is it does have a height adjustment, so you can put it wherever you like. And then your horizontal arm goes on here. And what makes these kind of neat is that this is slightly off center. So when you put the tabletop on, it kind of goes all over the place. Some people would take this and get it just right, raise it up a little bit, and you could use it perhaps if you're cooking to have a little extra surface to prep food on. You can swing it here like this, whatever you want. It's a lot of fun. It's a real nice design. And the nice thing is they have it mounted on this surface so that we can still extend the sofa if you just wanted to take a nap without having to move the table out of the way. And if you want to make it into the full bed, then of course it has its own storage spot that we just showed you up front. So speaking of the bed, back here is your second touch panel. Now we went pretty extensively on the front one, and this is identical in every way with the exception of there's no red button to turn your batteries off here. And if we go to the mechanical screen, there's no buttons to put out your awning. But other than that, you can do everything else back here. Your lighting, your home screen's all the same. Everything's the same. So here to extend the sofa, you push the button. So now we can do this and show you at the same time. So this goes back. The nice thing is you can stop it wherever you want. So you could just recline and read or watch TV. But if you want to make it into a bed, you just retract it all the way like that. You can tuck these seat belts down. And then in the closet where the table was are the two bed boards. We're showing you those now. We don't have to take them out. We'll just, it's pretty straightforward stuff. They fit right across here, two boards. To put the boards in, you'd have to remove the table. And then these back cushions here, which are Velcroed in place. These would just fill in the center and make this all one big bed. A lot of people might sleep on it as twin beds and leave this center open and just put these cushions up front somewhere. But it's real nice. It's memory foam with this ultra leather. It looks lumpy. A lot of people think this is going to be uncomfortable, but with the memory foam, once you lay on it, your weight and your body heat just flattens this right out, and it makes a really, really nice bed. So, and then it goes up just real easy, just like that, when you want to go back into the daytime mode. So I think we're moving along pretty good. Back here on the back, you don't have to come back to show, but on this back wall is a USB. It's actually a socket with two USB connections on each side. Here's a plug here with a ground fault. There's a reset there for, what does that say? Refrigerator. This is a carbon monoxide and propane alarm here. If you'd ever have a unlikely event of a leak of some kind, that's going to warn you. Down here, you have to get down real low and have good eyes, but there's your breakers for the all your 110 volt air conditioner and whatnot. Underneath here is access for your electrical components and a wiring diagram for all your DC powers under there. So, yeah, these blinds, this is what I was telling you about. They have these magnets, and little steel plates in each one, so you can latch them. These are what they refer to as awning windows, that they go out straight. And if you notice, they overhang a long way, so you can have these open in a pretty good rain without getting wet, and they go just about all the way out. So that's nice. And with that fan that I spoke about earlier, you can really get a good circulation in here. So I think we're moving along pretty good here. Let's go back towards the front, and I'll show you the bathroom. Under here, I guess, while we're doing this, you have nice plywood drawers, no flake board. And these latches, when they're in, they're locked. So when you're traveling, you can push them in. And when you're staying somewhere, you can open them like that. There's a lot of storage under here. Part of the benefit of the TS is this larger galley area here with more storage. Might as well give you the whole show. That's a very large space for storage underneath here. This panel here is access to the back of your Truma AquaGo water heater. When it's time to winterize it, you remove these 4 screws, and there's valves back there you access to winterize the coach. Maybe I'll take a minute here before we're done and show you some of the stuff that comes with it. This blue bag comes with every Pleasure Way, and there's a few important things in here. This is an emergency crank for your awning. It's a Fiamma awning, and in the event it would fail for whatever reason, you can insert this crank into the end of the awning and manually retract it till you could get home and get it looked at. They give you an assortment of connections for your sewer hose. This is a right angle that would come in handy at a lot of dump stations that you go, and there's a couple of caps here that you can close that up. You'd probably be good to get a little Tupperware container or maybe a heavy-duty Ziploc to store that in. You have the full Mercedes book set for the Sprinter chassis. I'm not going to take time today going over the dashboard. There's all kinds of great features. This has the adaptive cruise control. It has blind spot monitoring, collision avoidance, active brake assist, lane keeping, all voice activated touch screen for your navigation. It's a really sophisticated chassis. But again, today we're just doing the Pleasure Way components, but you do have a book here with all the Mercedes stuff in it. Each appliance in here comes with its own book. There's a book on the TV, the Bose soundbar, the microwave, all that stuff. They give you manuals on everything. But Pleasure Way does about the best job of anybody condensing all that into their own owner's manual. So this is real nice. You can download this online, but it has color pictures, talks about the safety features. You know, every Pleasure Way comes with a fire extinguisher. There's a smoke detector mounted up on the ceiling. It talks about the carbon monoxide. It has all the capacities and dimensions of the chassis. Here's a list of all the appliances in here, the manufacturer, and the model number. So if you ever had a problem with whatever, with your water pump, you could say, well, I have a Shore Flow model XYZ and I need parts for it. Here's your tank capacities for all your black tank, your gray tank, your fresh water. It's all listed in here. And then they go through and give you maintaining your motorhome, travel preparation, all the systems, everything that I've showed you, plus a lot more. There's a section on winterizing the motorhome. Here it talks about the winter storage and the key. There's a chart in here on all your electrical usage. It's really extensive, but at the same time, it's really user-friendly. It's not overly technical, and most people really find that it's a good asset to have. So, I think that just about covers everything on the inside. The air conditioner is mounted up here, and there's flaps here that open in the front and the back. There's flaps on the side, so you can play around with this, and sometimes you can kind of control the pitch of the noise, the fan, or the direction of the air if you don't want it blowing right on you. Oh, we didn't do the bathroom. Let's go up here and we'll finish up at the most important part, maybe. So, this is where it all happens. One of the nicest bathrooms in any Class B on the market is in this Pleasure Way Plateau TS. Solid Corian countertop, real nice, curved, stylish stainless steel sink. You have a real medicine cabinet here that opens. You have a porcelain bowl toilet. This is winterized, that's what all that pink stuff is, but it's a foot flush toilet, so you put your foot down about halfway and it flows water in the bowl, and then you push it all the way down to flush it. As long as you hold the pedal down, water will continue to flow in there. It does have a shower. You can see the drain here in the floor. There's a shower curtain that comes around here that then velcros along the back to keep your vanity dry. There's storage under here that's pretty good size. Plenty of room for your bathroom supplies. A little shelf there for whatever you like to put. There's an outlet here for a hairdryer, a razor. And then these are the only lights that don't work off of the touchscreen. These you just poke them with your finger and they go on and off. There's a towel bar back there. Real nice bathroom for a Class B. I don't think there's anything nicer on the market. So I think that just about brings us around to where we started. I can't think of anything else. So, any questions? Feel free to give me a call anytime. I'll do my best to help you out. And you can't go wrong with the Pleasure Way Plateau TS.